Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Juan the Yarn Addict and I'd like to welcome you to another session of WIP'n It with Juan. If you're new here, hi, hello, and welcome. I'm super happy that you found me. If you're not new here and you're returning, well, welcome back. I'm super grateful and thankful you have returned. These WIP'n It with Juan sessions are sessions where I sit back, I work on my WIPs while I talk to you about all the things. I become your crochet buddy for about 45 minutes to an hour, so if this is of interest to you, please sit back and enjoy the video. Before we get started, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I would definitely appreciate the support. With that, let's jump into our session of WIP'n It with Juan, and the question of the hour is, what is on the hook? Now, before I came in here, I laid out 6 WIPs. I'm ultimately going to settle on one, but for now, I'm just going to show you what WIPs I have on the desk. This first one here is an offset V-stitch pattern that I have on my channel for both left and right-handed crocheters. I've done several of these so far, so this is the latest one, and I'm using leftover yarns from Stash, and I'm also pulling different colors from Stash to include into the project here. So what I have so far is Red Heart Super Saver in a light gray, this is Big Twist in slime green, and this blue is Red Heart Super Saver in light blue. The next color I think I'm going to put onto this project is Loops and Thread Soft Classic in Limeade. From here, I may actually go to a darker gray or a darker blue. I'm just going to play with the colors and see what I come up with. First, I'm going to look through my bins of leftover yarns to see if I have an appropriate color. If I don't, I'll pull from the wall. So I think this is going to be the next color for this one. And I'm working this up with a 6mm US letter J prim hook, which is right here. The next one I have is a 2-bit granny. And with this one here, I'm playing with contrast, lights and darks and things like that. So this is what I have so far. Let me turn this around. We have micro fringe. All the ends, literally all the ends going up the side there. So this is what I have so far. And as I said, I'm playing with lights and darks with this one. I'm not sure what the next color is, but I did pull a colorway from my wall in the other room here. And I have fuchsia. So I think fuchsia is going to be the next color. I'm not sure if it's dark enough, but I think so. I think that'll work. I'm not sure though. I'm indecisive. What can I say? All right, so that's the second one. And I'm working this up with the same hook. So 6mm US letter J prim. The next one here is one that I've shown quite a bit recently. This is my offset V-stitch in the round, all variegated yarn. This is, I think, one of my favorites so far. I love this. Super, super nice. It's growing very, very quickly. I'm on the 3rd cake with this project. And these are cakes that I made up on a live, I believe. I did this like marathon live where I did all sorts of different colors, these cakes and all the things. So I have cakes here, I have this one here, I have this one here, and I have the one that I'm currently on, which is this one. I believe after these 3, my project will be done. And I'm working this one up with a 7mm prim hook, which I believe is their version of a US letter K. So there's that. And once again, let me show you this beautiful, beautiful blanket. I love this. And as I said, it works up very, very quickly. I do enjoy working this particular stitch up. It's so much fun. So there's that one. The next one I have is my Nana June's Blessing Blanket. And I put this on pause for a moment because I came across this. So my yarn got stuck between the wall and the desk. And in my attempt to get that yarn out from behind the desk, it turned into this. And I'm not one who fares well with knots. So there's a bunch of knots in this. And I may have to sit back, put everything to the side, and literally just go through this. But I feel like the more that I move that, the knottier it becomes. But at any rate, I digress. I'm going to move on and just show you what I have so far. So this is the Nana June's Blessing Blanket, but I'm doing it in a 2-bit granny version. So I'm changing colors every 2 rounds. With exception to this very first section. This section here is 4 rounds of the same color. And then I'm changing colors every 2 rounds after that. So that's what I have with this one here. and I am working this up with my 6mm US letter J hook. Okay, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 5 is my lasso loops throw. Now this is yet another donation for Camp Boggy Creek. Actually, out of all the ones that I've shown so far, the only one that's not a donation blanket is my vintage, well, my variegated. Most of this is vintage, but yes, this one's going to be for me. The rest of them so far is going to be for donation. And so I have the same situation again with this. So I have a bunch of knots that I need to figure out. This was not stuck. This literally had project on top of project laid over it, and in movement it became this whole monstrous spaghetti bowl of knots. So I have to sort this out. Once I do that, I will continue on. Again, I'm only going to work this up until I get to 40 inches because that is the size requirement for Camp Boggy Creek. So I'm not far off the mark here. I have a little ways to go, but I think one more skein of this colorway, I'll be good to go for this blanket. So there's number 5. And number 6 is one I've shown quite a bit as well. Let me set that there. It's right here. So this is my vintage Spectrum corner to corner blanket, a C to C. The current color that I'm on is this one right here, which is a camo colorway, discontinued, vintage. Now with this one here, every single colorway here is a vintage discontinued variegated yarn. And no rhyme, no reason. Lights, darks, doesn't matter. I'm putting it on as I go. And this is what it looks like so far. This has been through it back and forth. Now, early on, I think from like where my hand is to the corner, I've ripped that out twice or 3 times. I can't remember. There was this weird colorway that was not discontinued or vintage. So I had to frog it back, pull that color out, recrochet it, and something else happened. But in either case, here we are. We're well on our way, and I've got quite a bit of that camo color on across the top there. So yeah, that's where I'm at with this one. And once again, a 6mm US letter J. Now, if I've said it once, I've said it a million times. The 6.0 millimeter and the 6.5 millimeter are my 2 favorite sizes. I don't mind working with the larger hooks, but my go-tos are those 2 sizes. And I will work with the smaller hooks, but I try to steer clear from anything smaller than a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook because I have such big hands. It does take me a lot longer to work with those smaller hooks, like a 2.75, a 1.75, those thread hooks. I mean, it takes me forever, but I can work with them. It's just it's very time consuming. So, all right. So where I'm going to start, I believe, is going to be over here. I'm going to work with my offset V-stitch for now. Actually, I only need to do 2 rounds of this, and then I'll be done this. So perhaps I will go to this one. For now, like I said, I'm only going to put 2 rounds on this, and then I'll hop to another project. So, because I only brought 1 color with me, and I think it's going to be fuchsia. Yes. Where am I going to use navy blue? Let me see if I already have it on here. So I don't have navy blue on here as of right now. Let me see. Okay, so maybe that's a sign to not work this. Maybe what I'm going to do here is let's work this. Offset V-stitch in the round. It works up super fast anyway. So this particular skein here is 252 yards. When you're working a stitch like this, this actually goes very quick. So I like that for us. Well, for me especially, because I'm on this whole mission. So I mentioned this before. I'll mention it again. So my goal is to have 50 Boggy Creek blankets donated to Camp Boggy Creek this year. Now, I believe I was at 26, somewhere between 23 and 26 blankets already. I reset the clock. So I will have somewhere over 75 blankets donated to Camp Hockey Creek, but in honor of Nana June, I decided to reset the clock when I designed that blanket. So as of right now, I believe I'm on week 4. 3 weeks have already passed, and so week 1 was 5 blankets, week 2 was 4 blankets, week 3 was 3 blankets. So I have 11 so far, and I'm supposed to do an average of 3 per week, and the goal is to have 50 by the end of December. So as long as I do 3 or more per week, I will not only meet my goal, but I will beat it. So that's my hope. So, and also too, if there's ever a week where I can't get 3 blankets done, at least I have extras that I've done from prior weeks as cushion, so to speak. So I don't want to rest on my laurels and just bank on that. I just want to keep pushing no matter what. And this pattern right here is actually going to help me get there because it's not time consuming. It's not a yarn eater. The yarn goes quite far with this particular pattern, so I'm really excited about it. So it doesn't really fare well with like a great thumbnail image, just because it's, I don't know, I don't really have all the poppy colors like this particular blanket, but that's okay because my thought process behind this is not every child loves all the colors. You know, this is for Camp Hockey Creek. It's a camp for children, and I believe that children have their own minds. You know, not everyone loves all the colors. There may be children who are teenagers who may not want all neon colors, or they may not want all muted colors, you know. So my hope is that whoever gets this one loves green and blue. Green, blue, and gray. So that's the hope, and I believe there's a blanket for every child down there. So let me just tie this on. And I did bring coffee. I have my Dunkin' Donuts hazelnut coffee with caramel macchiato creamer. It's my favorite. I'm sure you've heard me say it at least a million times. Nice and fresh and hot, which is perfect. Now this tutorial for this offset V-stitch in the round is very, very quick. I try to make them as short as possible, only because I know from personal experience when I would go to a tutorial to pick up a stitch or to learn something, I want to learn it as fast as I can, because with YouTube we have that luxury of rewind and replay. So as long as I give you the meat of what you need to learn, you can rewind and replay as much as you need to, so that I'm not wasting your time. You can go straight to what you need to do in order to do your work. So that's my goal for my tutorials. Now, early on when I first started doing tutorials, I just wanted to go really slow. I wanted to take my time and keep repeating and repeating. But I had to tell myself, you know, do that when it's necessary. It's not necessary every single time in every video. So once I realized that, I said, okay, let me ask myself a few questions. Is this particular tutorial worth having that extra footage just to ensure we understand the material? Sometimes that answer was a yes, and sometimes that answer was a no. Particularly for my stitch tutorials. If you're learning a stitch, let me just show you the stitch. It goes with the understanding that if you're learning how to do a complicated stitch, you kind of sort of know the basics, and if not, I'm going to reroute you to where those basic stitches are so that when you come back, you have an understanding of what we're talking about. So, yeah. In some instances, like I said, I do repeat. I do go that extra mile just to make sure that you get the material that I'm trying to put out there. So, for me, same situation. I want to watch a tutorial, get the meat of the information, and then be on my way. And, yeah. I know I'm not alone in that. So, yeah. I actually have tutorials on my channel that are like less than 10 minutes. You're learning a stitch in like 6 minutes. It could have been a short, now that I think about it, but I said, you know, just for continuity, for the playlist, it's nice to have the stitch with the other stitches. So, yeah. I like that for us. Now this Loops and Thread Soft Classic, again, if I said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. It is a really nice plump 4-weight yarn. It's very similar to Premier Basics worsted and also Bernat Premium. Also, um, let me see, Hobby Lobby's I Love This Yarn. So those yarns all together have a very similar consistency in terms of thickness, and I really, really enjoy a nice plump 4-weight yarn, especially for these kinds of blankets where they're going to get a lot of wear and tear, and the goal is to have these blankets last for a while. And yes, these yarns will definitely stand the test of time. And I think this shade of green right now on this blanket is just what this needs. Yes. The other alternative before coming into the studio today was to go with like a charcoal gray. And I said, no. If I'm going to use charcoal gray maybe for a border, let me try other colors first. Now from here, now that I think about it, I may actually jump into a yellow. So we have the slime green, which does give us that little twinge of yellow with the green, right? And then I have this very vibrant limeade. We could go yellow just to, throw a wrench into the clockwork. Or we could go with, the royal blue or just the standard Red Heart Super Saver blue. We definitely have options. And then there's a failsafe. You can always use white. Whenever you're not sure about a color to put onto a project, you can always just choose white. So, or black, but as of late, in my opinion, black is a difficult color to crochet with. You have to be in the right lighting. You have to make sure that, you have all your ducks in a row. Because even my mom, like when she did projects years ago, she would miss stitches, and through no fault of her own. The lighting wasn't right, and it was black on black, which is really difficult to work with. And now that I'm in my mid-40s, I do see myself struggling a little bit with the black yarn. So I have to have the neck light on. I have to have all the lights in the studio on, just so that I could see my stitches. And I want to make sure that they're in the right place, the tension's right, and all of that. So I don't know if everyone is as meticulous as I am when it comes to stitch placement, but I would like to think that, yes, if you're working with black yarn, you already know how difficult it is. So you're going to want to make sure to pay extra attention to like where your stitches are going. Because let me tell you, the fastest way to take your project into that whole cattywampus lane is to work with black yarn and not pay attention to where your stitches are going. Yes, your square will look like a trapezoid or a rhombus or some other shape if you don't pay attention to where your stitches are going. It goes without saying. It's black yarn, and black is a very difficult color to work with, in all kinds of lighting. But if you have bright light, you have direct light, you have patience and time, your black stitches will be absolutely wonderful. Now, I don't know how many people struggle with this as well. Before my mom's vision went, she would have issues crocheting with white yarn. So for her, the issue was everything was blending together. Now, her vision was going, so I completely understand from that point of view. But also, too, like if you work with that bright color for such an extended period of time, I could see how your stitches start to run into each other. Like, you start to lose focus because it's just a bright color in bright lights. So I could understand that as well. So, I think different strokes for different folks. We all have our colors that we work with, and we also have colors that we do not work with. And if you've been watching me, you know that I have an aversion to a certain colorway. But it's really weird because with that particular colorway, I do enjoy certain shades of that colorway. There's just a section of that colorway that I try to steer clear from, but I work with it if I have to. I make it very well known that I'm not a happy camper when I work with that shade or those shades of that particular colorway. There's lots of people that really enjoy pink and all the shades of pink, and I love that for them. For me, I love the neon pinks, the Barbie pinks, the really pronounced and like strong pinks. I don't like the powder, the dusty rose, the Victorian. I don't like those particular colorways only because they're not really pronounced. They're not, loud. So I do like working with loud colors. It's easier on my eyes. It's easier for me to pair up with projects. It speaks to me more so than those muted shades of pink. Now, with that being said, I really do enjoy working with muted colors like a sagey green or like a palm green, or even I think like muted yellows, like a butter yellow or a mustard yellow. I love working with muted colors, but for some reason, actually, I know the reason. I know the exact reason why I have this aversion to pink. So, for those of you guys that don't know, I am one of 11 children. And what's worse than being one of 11 children is when you're literally the only son of all of these kids between both of my parents, okay? And all while growing up, and I mean from as far back as I can remember, my sisters would always fuss over that color pink, whether it was a dress, a hairbrush, a hair tie, a pin, stockings, a toy, you name it. When it came to pink, they would all fuss and holler and all the things over that color. And I just never understood what the big deal was with pink. And then it just magnified as everyone, including myself, got older. So, yeah, it went from toys and hair ties to makeup and like all the other things, accessories. So, anyway, that's where it all began. And then it translated somehow from everyday real world situations with pink to the yarn. It would directly remind me of a blush that my two sisters would fuss over, or a hairbrush that my one sister had for years on end that she no longer has because the other sister took it with her when she moved to California. So it's just all of that. And I'm being very specific because these are very specific situations that have literally happened. So, yes, my aversion to the pink is in part, actually largely in part, because of my sisters. So, it's their favorite color. Not all of them, but most of them. So, yeah. But, like I said, I don't mind the neon pinks. I don't mind the Barbie pink because it's pronounced. And from an artist viewpoint, those particular shades of pink really speak to me, and I like that. So if it tells me what it wants to be, I'll help it along its way. So I like that. Anyway, now on the opposite end of that, as some of you may or may not know, because there are a lot of new folks on the channel, I absolutely love, love, love purple. And it's an emotional connection. The love of purple comes directly from the two family members who taught me how to crochet, my grandmother and my aunt. And I don't know, the darker the purple, the more I love it. It's my emotional connection to them. So when I have purple in the room, it reminds me of them, and I like having them close by. So in this drawer is where I keep most of my purple because this is where I'm closest to my desk. So I can pull it out and there's a bunch of purple there. I have purple here, purple everywhere. I just love having purple. But the darker the purple, the better. So my absolute favorite shade of purple is aubergine. So it's like a really deep, deep, dark purple, like an eggplant color. Absolutely love it. It's my favorite. Now, I also have another favorite color that I used to, so red. Red used to be my favorite color, growing up and all the things. And purple took over and red took a back seat. But over the course of this last year, my passion for red has come back. So purple and red are my colors. I even did an Afghan in that sequence, like purple and red, scarlet red, and aubergine. Queen size blanket, granny square. I've shown it on the channel. I believe it was last year I've shown it. I've donated it since. So I plan on making myself another one, but maybe in a different pattern. Maybe not necessarily a granny square, because at the time, that's kind of what I did. I just did a bunch of granny square blankets, me and my mother. And so now that I'm many years removed from that time period, I can work another pattern with those two colorways and make it look amazing. So, love purple, love red. Absolutely. So, with that, I know we're like way into this session of WIP'n It with Juan. How are all of you guys? I wait all this time before asking you guys how you guys are. I hope you're well. I hope you guys have wonderful things to work on. Maybe you have me on for background noise while you're cleaning the house or, working up a project, which both are things that I do. Sometimes I play myself back and I critique my work as I clean. So, case in point, the other day, I was listening to podcast 98 back, and I'm cleaning the dining room and the kitchen and the living room, and I have my phone playing my video on the island. And so I'm critiquing my work. I'm like, he said one too many times, and him meaning me, So I know what that feels like, just having something to listen to while you're doing all the things, and I hope that I am that for you. So that's kind of the point of these videos. It's not necessarily to teach you anything. It's literally to just be that crochet buddy, to have all the yarny things to talk about while you do all of your things, including WIPs. Maybe you pull out your WIPs and you work on your projects while you listen to me just babble on about the breeze, which I like doing. I love talking about anything and everything that's yarny related, of course, and sometimes not yarn related. Like earlier, you heard about the whole story between me and my sisters. It's a great way to learn more about me as well. So every now and then, I will pepper in different things about me in conversation with you guys during these sessions. It's kind of all part of the fun, So I know before I pressed my play button 2 years ago, I always wanted to listen in on a content creator just to have somebody to keep me company. Because as many of you guys know, maybe not every one of you guys, but many of you guys know that this is a very lonely craft. A lot of us sit by ourselves while we crochet or while we knit. And how awesome is it to have somebody like-minded to just sit with you and just keep you company, even if it is only for 45 minutes. I have an entire playlist, and I believe I have over 80 of these videos. So feel free to just play the playlist. There's an entire playlist, and there's tons of these videos in there. So you're always with company, whether it's this one right now or one that I recorded 6 months ago. Now, I do have to tell you, as time went on, I've gotten more and more comfortable in front of the camera. So the earlier ones are a little cringy, but that's okay. We all start somewhere, right? Including the podcast episodes. Everything was a little cringy 2 years ago, but we all start somewhere. And at some point, I'm just going to have to be at peace with that. I still fuss with myself over the fact that, like, I had no idea what I was doing when I pressed my button. Like, I had no idea what I was even doing. And I spoke about this many, many times. I literally just said, I'm just going to press the play button. I'm playing it. I'm doing it. I didn't speak to anybody about it. I didn't grab any advice from anybody about it. I didn't know a single soul on the YouTube streets. I didn't know anyone. I literally said, okay, how do I press this button? Because I have yarn, I have lots of crochet things, and I want to just keep a journal of my journey. I wanted to record this, and if anybody watched, they watched. If they didn't, that was fine too. I just wanted someone to talk to, even if it was just the camera, because this is, again, a very lonely craft. And I was alone, here in the yarn room. So, and at the time, this was the yarn room, not the studio. So the yarn room is in the other room that I keep talking about. That's the squirrel's nest on the other side of this wall. And on the other side of the house, I have a yarn room. And I think I've taken us there once or twice. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So, I just wanted to share my journey with everybody. But in hindsight, this does not come with a handbook. So those of us who press that play button are taking a chance. We have no idea if it's going to work or not. None of those things. Anyway, my point is when I first started, I was so nervous just about how I presented myself to the void, because I had no idea who was going to watch me. I didn't know anything. I knew nothing. So now, 2 years later, well, as of the 18th of September, it will be 2 years. So just in about a week and a half, it'll be my 2-year anniversary here on YouTube. Totally different person now compared to back then. Like, I can consider myself a half decent tutorialist. Oh my goodness, night and day difference in terms of public speaking. So I consider myself better. I'm not well spoken, but I'm better spoken than I was when I first started, because I used every third word. My diction wasn't complete. I mispronounced, certain words when it came to yarns. I remember one time, my very first time showing yarn. Okay, so I mispronounced the yarn, and I think it was Barocco yarn. I was calling it something else. Barocco? I was literally I messed up completely. And then I would hold yarn and show yarn that I completely didn't understand the worth or the value of that yarn. So there were yarns that I would present to you guys that were gifted to me by people I had no idea who they even were. They saw me and they sent me things because they were like, yay, you're on YouTube. And I'm showing them to you. And to me, yarn, back then, yarn was yarn. Whether it came off of a sheep or from a machine, it was yarn. And I didn't understand the value because I was all about value yarns. So everything you see behind me on the wall is what I was about. So when people sent cashmere my way or superwash merino, to me, it was just yarn, right? What, like $5 for this hank? I don't know. But when I learned about how valuable some of the yarn was, I started treating it a little differently, But in the beginning, to me, it was just yarn. And so I'd present it and I'd look back and I'm like, oh my goodness, Juan, that was a Powerball. And that Powerball, one of those is $150, and you treated it like it was a $10 ball of Karen 1 pound. Now, I own more than a few, and I'm like, they have to be put by themselves because, those are the good yarns that you pull out for special projects. But back then, I'm like, oh, well, it's just yarn, and I just move it like I do those, just yank it and pull it and move it and all the things, not realizing the value of what it was that I was holding. So, yes. We're in different times now. I understand my yarns, and I keep a lot of my really, really good yarn, like the cashmere, the Italian cashmeres, and all of those fine yarns, I do keep in special bags. I'm trying to think of the name. I can't remember what the name of it is off the top of my head. It's on the tip of my tongue. Oh. So, yes. I do keep my special yarns in special bags. Maybe if I touch it, I'll be able to. No. I'll just show it like this. Yes, I keep my special yarns in my special bags. So this is a Powerball right here, and I just keep it. Yeah, Now watch, after I turn this video off and upload it and all the things, I'm going to know the name of the bag. This happens to me a lot. A lot. I don't know why, but it does. Anyway. How far did I get with this round? I spend a lot of time just talking to you guys about all the things. My goal here is to not move the needle far. For me, it's like I'm here to keep us company, you know? And however far I get is how far I get. That's a new lesson that I've learned. I would spend so much time talking, and because I'm elbows deep into a subject, and then all of a sudden, like, I look back and I'm like, that's all I did? I spent 45 minutes on one round, knowing full well that if I did not have this, I'd probably have 5 rounds done. But that's okay. I don't mind. We're keeping each other company. So, yeah. Absolutely love this. Now, for my corner-to-corner vintage variegated spectrum blanket, I was asked, how far are you going to take that, Juan? Honestly, I think what I'm going to do is continue going corner to corner until when it touches the floor and it goes past my head. I think that's when I'm going to start my decreases. I just want to make sure that it's like a really, really decent size, you know, because I've made several variegated blankets before, but after washing and laying them out and actually looking at those projects, I told myself, one, it's a decent size, but you could have pushed it a little further. You could have gone a little wider with the one. I could have gone a little longer with the other one. So now I'm making sure that before I do my decreases, that I'm satisfied with just how big all the things are. So I can't wait to get that one done, though, because I can just imagine what that's going to look like just spread out. Now, some people have seen this and they're calling it like the Yarny Picasso, you know, just you got a lot of cubism happening there with all the colors and things. I can't wait to see what that looks like when it's done. I'm very excited, actually. So, yeah, I can't believe I forgot the name of those bags. It's literally, it slipped my mind completely. You know what I could do? I could literally jump on the computer right now, because if I don't figure this out, there's going to be at least 50 comments in this video telling me the name of these bags. So, I can't believe, you know what it is? I'm not concentrating. Like, I know it's on the tip of my tongue. Hold on. I'm going to figure this out with us together very quickly. I promise. It won't take long. So, this is unprecedented. I don't normally do this. I'm just going to wait for that to come up. Why can't I think of the name of that bag? It's a kind of, it's a fabric. It's a type of fabric, and I have a bunch of them right here, and I can't think of the name. Oh, this is so sad. I can't remember the name of these bags. Does that happen to you guys? It happens to me more often than I would like to admit, but it's just us, so it's fine. So, fabric. I'm going to move the microphone really quick. So, fabric to hold yarn. Let's see. Fabric to hold yarn. Let's see. Nope. Best fabric. Hold on. I'm going to do it. Best fabric to hold wool. Hold on. So the best fabric to hold wool depends on its purpose. For sewing, choose a tight weave like rayon knit. Why is this not coming to me right now? Polyester, nylon, cotton, silk. Wow. Oh my goodness. How am I not able to... how to store wool and fabric. Why can't I remember the name of this? Let me see. Lavender oil. This is storage. Let me see. Fabric. And you know what? To be perfectly honest with you, hold on, let me see. Best fabric to hold wool for crochet. Let's see. Let's see. There's acrylic, wool and animal fibers, blends. Let's see. Nope. Wow. I'm even looking online and it's not giving me the name of this fabric. I can't remember the name of this. And I'm sure you guys know exactly what this is. And you use this to hold your wool to keep the moths away. Hold on. Best fabric for superwash wool for knitting and a crochet. Best fabric to hold yarn. Okay. For knitting and crochet with superwash wool, blends of superwash wool, nylon. Excellent. Okay. No. It's telling me how to take care of superwash wool. That's not what I want. I'll figure it out. No big deal. Sorry about that. It'll come to me. I know it will. But yes. And it usually comes to me when I absolutely don't need the information. Does that happen to you guys too? Like when you need to know something or you try to remember something, when you need to remember it, it's just empty space, right? But then you could be by yourself doing something completely random, and then the one thing that you thought about comes to mind. That's what's happening to me right now because, yes. I can't believe I can't remember what this. And it's literally on the tip of my tongue. Like, I feel like if I think about this a little longer, it'll come to me. It's not lame. It's not tulle. I can't give up on this. Okay. Fabric bags for yarn storage. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Bamboo? No, it's not bamboo. Let me see. Fabric bags for yarn storage. Nope. Okay, I'm just going to leave it sit. Because I feel like I'm going to jump into a rabbit hole if I keep going with it. It's okay. It's not like, the end of the world kind of question that needs an answer right away. But, yeah. That's perfectly fine. Those were actually sent to me by a friend, and I was actually using those to house all of my superwash and my non-superwash wool, just to make sure that it stays protected from anything that may actually it encounters, or whatever the case may be. So, yeah. I can't believe I don't know that off the top of my head. That's okay. So the goal for right now is, for this week is to have 3 boggy blankets done, right? Donation blankets. So far, I have 2 completed. I only need 1 more done, and it's Monday. So I have until Friday to get 1 more blanket done, which I think is totally doable. It's just that I have a very loaded week with everything on my plate. So who knows if I'm going to be able to get another blanket done. Uh, we shall see. Now, the way that I'm doing them now mostly is in the round, so it's 40 inches by 40 inches. So I feel like if I went 40 by 50, it's definitely doable, but it would take more time. So if I can help it, my goal is to do the 40 by 40 blankets because it's faster and I can do more in less amount of time, you know? If I didn't press myself up against the wall with this challenge, right now I'd be sitting at somewhere between, let me see, 23 to 26 plus 11. So 34 to 37 blankets. So I'd have almost 40 blankets done. But that's okay. These are for the kids, and that's all that matters. So, yeah. I can't believe I don't remember the name of that. It's gonna bother me, by the way. I am one of those, you know, I'll obsess over it until I figure it out. I will obsess over it. Okay, so I got 1 round completed, super nice, and I have to say it's a little washed out, but I think when I add more to this, it will be better. Now that I think about it, my center is probably not the best color. So the only way to make this make sense is if I add a darker gray. Yep, a darker gray or a white. Because again, that's the fail-safe, right? So if a color doesn't work, just use white. So it's fine for both of us. So yeah, I'm going to make this make sense. Now, not every blanket is going to be like a scrap gan and all the things. I do have blankets that have yarn specifically for Boggy Creek, like for instance my Bernat Ogos. They have multicolors in them, and I'm exclusively using those colorways for those blankets. You'll see. I had several Ogos that were 2 shades of yellow and a gray. So what I did was I took the Ogos, I did corner to corners with them, and then I ran a complementary color. One of them, for one of the blankets, it's white. And then for the other one, I chose another color. I can't remember what color I chose, but yes. So not random, but like planned. But there's just a lot of fun in these scrap gan blankets. There's lots of color, and I think it fits the theme of the camp really, really nice, because I went there and I saw the blankets on the beds, and a lot of the blankets that were on the beds were all various colors. No solids that I saw, but the vast majority of those blankets had all the colors in them, and I absolutely loved it. So much fun to see. And it's very inspiring to see all those colors in the blankets. And they had the granny square blankets, corner to corners there. They had Grafgans there. They had the ripple blankets. You name it, they had it. And they continue to have it so long as we continue to make them. So I think all blankets are good blankets for Camp Boggy Creek. And if your blanket is too big, right? Let's just say that you went a little on the large side with your blanket. They'll still take it and they'll give it to the staff. So all is not lost if there was a miscalculation with size, because, you know, the adults need blankets too. Now, last year I donated quite a few adult blankets for the staff, you know. I think somewhere between 15 and 20. Actually, not 20, like 15. Closer to 15. Just for the staff, because we weren't going to use them here. It was taking up much needed space, and they kind of could use them. So I felt like, well, why not send them? And so I did. So I may actually do that again. I do have more blankets for the staff that I pulled from the attic. Now, last year I put blankets up in the attic because I said, well, I'm going to hold on to these. Now, after looking back on those blankets, I'm like, well, they don't really have sentimental value to me because Granny Square blankets to me came a dime a dozen. And I think I was only holding on to them just in case I wanted them or just in case I wanted to repurpose the yarn. I have no need for that. So I'm going to more than likely donate a bunch of blankets for the staff, for those who are actually working at the camp. So, I mean, these are not ones that you would hang up. They're not like picturesque or anything like that, but they'll definitely keep a person warm, regardless of who that is. But they are larger than the required size. But I feel like they would have a good home down there, and so why not? And if I do decide to do that, I will show which ones I'm sending on the channel. I'm just going to do a little more digging. I went up there yesterday and I looked around and noticed that I had several bags of blankets up there that I made over the course of the years. Now, this is after I made all my donations. This is after all that. I still went ahead and, had time to pack up some bags and send it all up there. So, yeah, I'll make a decision on that, and then I will send them to Florida. Super, super nice. So I think what I'm going to do here is get to this corner and wrap up. So I didn't really get as far as I would have liked, but still nice nonetheless, right? Now, I would have liked to really put some work on this one right here, which I will probably work on at some point today. Super nice. I really like the dark and the light purple next to each other, and I like the light and the dark blue next to each other. Now, this is a different shade of blue. I think this is more like a denim blue and a light blue, but still blue nonetheless. I really like that. So I may play with those colors like that later on, where you have a light and a dark of the same color. So yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up our session of WIP'n It with Juan. I really hope that you enjoyed this. If you did and you haven't done so already, please hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the channel. Would absolutely love having you here. And then, of course, share the video if you can to get me out there. I would really appreciate that. So that is all for now. And until the next one, take care.